Thank you, Christine. It is my great honor and privilege to introduce to you tonight a great genius to me, and I think, after I share with you, you will think the same. Dr. Zhang Shoucheng is a physics professor at Stanford since 1993. He's a member of American Physical Society and American Academy of Arts and Sciences. He's also a foreign member of Chinese Academy of Sciences. He has a lot of exceptional achievements and honors, but the one that he treasures the most is the Benjamin Franklin Medal, because he admires Benjamin Franklin from his childhood for many of his successful roles in life. So that's the very reason he challenged himself and founded Danhua Capital in 2013. As an educator, professor, and business leader, Professor Zhang has touched, inspired, and empowered many of his students and young entrepreneurs. Wherever he goes, he shines, just like the meaning of his Chinese name, sunshine at noon. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Professor Zhang.
Irene, thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. Thank CIE for this wonderful award. I'm deeply honored, but also deeply humbled when I was sitting there with my wife and was watching the history of 100 years of the CIE. I really felt a great sense of mission that just like the founders of CIE, I came to the United States as a student and gradually am now becoming a professor at Stanford University. But I really felt this great sense of history also gave me a great sense of responsibility. So I'd like to use this time very briefly to share with you just a little bit about my research first, but maybe also tell you a little bit about Danhua Capital, which we try to build as a bridge between US and China. So my research is very much related to the engineering. In fact, the previous keynote speaker mentioned that one of the most, maybe not one of the most important technological and engineering trend of our time is the Moore's Law. And that's actually what I'm working on. So Moore's Law basically states that our information processing power doubles every 18 months. And that's simply measured by Moore, according to Moore, by the number of transistors on a unit area on a semiconductor chip. The number of transistors doubles every 18 months for the past about 50 years, ever since the integrated transistors were invented here in Silicon Valley. So this is really a remarkable law, and there's no parallel in human history where technology can increase so fast in exponential growth, but lasting so long for over a period of 50 years. But now there's every indication that Moore's Law may come to an end. And in the past, there has been different prophecies that Moore's Law might end, but the engineers, especially those sitting here in the audience, are so smart that they always were able to find some patches to keep it going. But now the problem is actually fundamental, and fundamental science need to step in and to solve the problem. So you may have experienced that when you put your laptop on your lap, it feels burning hot. And that's because when the electrons are processing information inside the chip, they basically move like cars in a random and crowded marketplace. They keep on bumping into each other, they bump into surrounding impurities, and in the process, useful electrical energy that you inject to the electron get turned into heat, and if you double the number of transistors every 18 months, so is the heat generated by every transistor operation. And that is the reason, the fundamental reason why Moore's law, if we keep on the same design principle, that Moore's law can no longer function. So this is actually a moment when engineers and scientists need to work together. It is a crisis, but in ancient Chinese culture, crisis or weiji means both a crisis but also an opportunity. It's an opportunity for scientists to go back to the drawing board and maybe find new principles under which we can possibly solve this problem. So this is basically when my work at Stanford University came in. I joined Stanford University in almost 24 years ago, in 1993. And I have been working on material science, but I'm a theoretical physicist. So I have actually discovered a new set of principles in which the electrons inside chip can move like cars, but in a highway system, so that the opposite moving traffic are spatially separated into different lanes. So they will never bump into each other, and they they always move following the traffic laws. So this is something which is quite remarkable. But also, I not only discovered the basic scientific principle, predicting that it could, in principle, work according to laws of nature, I also predict a concrete material called mercury telluride, under which these conditions, physical conditions, can be realized. So we wrote a paper in 2006, submitted to Science magazine, was immediately published. But then there was a group in Würzburg, Germany, which experimentally realized that inside the laboratory in Würzburg, Germany. So in the year 2007, it was ranked by Science magazine as one of the top 10 breakthroughs in all of science. So I'm actually very excited to push this technology forward. Maybe it's also a time for scientists, physicists, to work with the bright engineers and turning scientific discovery into technology that's for the better benefit of humankind. As I reintroduced, among the several international prizes I received, one of them was the Benjamin Franklin Award. And that also played a role as a turning point also in my life. I'm still a full-time professor at Stanford University, but I have undertaken another activity. So when I was growing up in China, I was growing up in a period where there's almost no study at school and there's almost no books to read. But among the very, very rare and scarce books in a children's library, I once read about the story of Benjamin Franklin, about him going out in a stormy day and flying a kite and establishing that what goes on in thunder and in lightning is basically due to electricity in heaven. And he was throwing the kite, trying to drain this electricity from heaven onto earth. So it was really a romantic story which ignited my interest in science. But as I read more and more, I find that he was not only a scientist, he was also an engineer. He turned this scientific discovery into a technology, the lightning rod, which benefits humanity. So for anyone who can do both science and engineering, it's already a high achievement. But his contribution and accomplishment didn't stop there. We can all see him in a $100 bill, and that's because he was also a statesman, a founding father of the United States. He was a successful businessman in Philadelphia, publishing the Philadelphia newspaper. He was also a brilliant diplomat. In fact, during the American Revolution, because America was just a colony and very removed from the central powers of Europe, it's very hard for Americans just to win the war against a superpower of the world, the Great Britain. But the American colonies sent Benjamin Franklin to Paris, and he eventually received help from the French government. But the very reason why they didn't send a professional diplomat to Paris, but rather a scientist, was because at that time, US was still in the backwater, and not many people are generally respected. But him being an established scientist immediately can gain the attention in the French court, therefore helping the United States to win the revolution. In fact, I always say that he was single-handedly responsible for two most important revolutions in the world. The American Revolution, but because French supported the American Revolution financially, they bankrupted themselves, and that caused the French Revolution. So it was a kind of an inspiring story that why someone can do so many things at the same time, be both a scientist, innovator, engineer, business person, a diplomat, and a statesman at the same time. And that gave me the inspiration that a scientist maybe have a higher social responsibility. And that gave me the idea to found Danhua Capital, DHVC, as a investment firm, because I see today the most important thing is to draw two important bridges, which is the opportunity of our time. One is to draw the bridge between the frontier of science and technology with investment. Everybody could realize that one of the most important role of the society is to allocate its capital efficiently into the frontier science and technology. But the problem is that people are trained so specialized way that scientists know very little about finance, and finance knows financiers know very little about science and technology and know little about engineering. So we hope that this can play the role of bridging. We also like to play the role of bridging between US and China, which I really think is the opportunity of our generation. Many previous speakers alluded to the wonderful opportunity, but also to the tremendous difficulty to really effectively bridging. But because I think in order to do so, we need someone who is deeply trusted by China, but also generally respected in the US, and I like to step into this role. So I founded Danhua Capital, and we have been running these for 3 to 5 years. We built a wonderful group, and we're recently also opening a fund in China. All the giants of the China side, like Baidu, Alibaba, Ctrip, Lenovo, and JD.com, and so on, all invested into our fund. So by working together, I hope that we can create a brighter future, both connecting science and technology with the investment, and also providing a platform for the bright young engineers who might be sitting in this audience, and together to create a brighter future. Thank you again for the award.
Thank you very much, Dr. Zhang.